where he ends up on the card and where he stays, because on top, I don't think that's feasible for anyone, to be honest.
Our last topic, the dark side of the ring. This week's episode focused on the Brawl for All. The actual documentary, I didn't think it revealed anything new. Like, it was cool to hear from Bart Gunn and Draws and Godfather and you know, some behind the scenes stuff with Ross and Russo and Cornette. But the actual Sean Ross Sapp did a story a few years ago on it that's up on Fightful.com that everyone can check out, that kind of laid out all this stuff already as far as why it happened, the injuries, the things that went wrong, the things that were supposed to happen. But I just like, and the Russo Cornette bullshit on the documentary was stupid, but I just like the Brawl for All just as a fan of stupid things that just go completely awry. Joe, what's your take on the Brawl for All?
I mean, I'm with you. It is a level of stupidity, though, that is it does kind of extend a little bit past my reach, because it's just, I mean, I'm with you, okay? I don't want to get into the whole Cornette Russo thing and that whole deal that's been going on forever. We don't have to get into that, but I do have to commend Vince Russo for telling his own side of the story and still making himself the villain. He's truly incredible, and I don't know if the editing was tough on him, but my goodness, he didn't do himself any favors here, right? He kind of sealed his fate a little bit with how he described it.
I thought Cornette seemed more mad about it than Russo did. Russo's just like, yeah, I did this to shut up JBL, and like him watching JBL get knocked out and taking some perverse pleasure and the guy still was very clearly happy. Like, he accomplished his goal. And I think that's all Russo cared. He didn't care about anything else. He's like, I booked this tournament to shut JBL up. He got knocked out. I won. Like, that's Russo's take on it. And I kind of admire that that's how he's going to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad someone accomplished something with this whole thing, right? I mean, he got something out of it. It's a weird one. I did feel for him in the sense that, like, ending the show with Droz, it was a pretty straightforward way of being like, hey guys, like, wrestling is actually like, very, very serious, right? And that was kind of, I think, because they went back to Cornette and he did like the wrap up on that part, like, that's why I don't like when people do this thing. And it cuts back to Vince and he's like grinning wide at JBL getting knocked out, and he's like, oh, it's just tough. I mean, the Brawl for All is, you probably like it for the same reasons you've loved bad MMA fights, right? It's just bad fighting. I mean, it must be said though, obviously Bart Gunn had nothing for Butterbean. Duh. Makes sense. Like, of course you didn't.
No, are you kidding me? If he had brawled and he didn't try to turn into a boxer, he would have knocked this man out.
It must be said, though, that man, he landed some serious knockout punches during the Brawl for All. Guys were out. Like, I had actually forgotten. I mean, I've watched a lot of these many times, more times than I should have. But I had forgotten just how vicious. I remember the JBL one, obviously, but the Godfather one.
The Godfather one was nuts.
Oh, that was crazy. So, yeah, you know what I did think? I mean, Jim Ross, I love Jim Ross, but I don't know if this painted him in the best way ever. Because the truth is, I totally understand the whole thing about it. No one got over, and they surely could have done something with poor Bart, right?
Yeah.
That was my takeaway, which is that surely there was a way to slot him in somewhere. I didn't understand the idea that he had to just sit at home. It seemed silly to me.
No one got over because they didn't do anything with the one guy who did actually get over or could have gotten over. Like, they talked about, we were going to have Dr. Death win this, and then he was going to go on to this feud against Austin. Like, Cornette's like, you flushed $5 million down the drain with this stuff. Realistically, Dr. Death wins this thing. Austin beats him on some B-level pay-per-view, and then he's in the mid-card doing whatever. He's like, your top stars at this time were not going to be Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was the one thing Russo said that I thought was undeniable when he was like, his prime had gone.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, this is the great irony of all of it, right? Is that to the general fan that watched in 1998, 1999, whenever it was, Bart Gunn coming out of Brawl for All had the same appeal that Dr. Death would have had coming out of Brawl for All.
Yes.
Because to them, it would have made no difference. They were just the guy that beat everyone up. If Dr. Death had done the exact same thing, it would have been the same. And it was always going to be its absolute apex peak. It was going to be a B pay-per-view match with Steve Austin. It was always going to be that. Like, this idea that if Dr. Death wins the tournament, we're rolling into WrestleMania, like in a stadium. No, like, you're 100% right. That's what was unfair about it, because Bart could have just got the exact same mini push that Dr. Death would have got. But I understand why JR is that way about it, because it is, I'd imagine it's a bit of a harrowing one for him. It's it's infamous as far as his kind of dealings with the whole thing. It's hard not to feel for Bart. I mean, especially when he was talking about, like, this MMA rematch that he was chasing, and it's like, oh my God, man, this is kind of brutal. But he seemed to be in a relatively good spot with it. He kind of put it in its place, I guess, as best he could.
He still had the gold gloves, looking like an older Randy Orton out there. I love the Brawl for All because, like you said, it's bad MMA, and I like my MMA either very high level and technical and good, or I just like it to be the absolute worst because then I can laugh at it, and because, like, these wrestlers, you do hear these stories of, like, how tough they are and how they're beating up people, and how, like, oh yeah, if we get into a fight, like, I would beat up this guy, and it's like, all right, well, now's your chance to go out there and, like, fight these people. Like, the top guys aren't going to do it. Austin wasn't going to do it. Undertaker, even though Undertaker is the best pure striker in the history of the business, he wasn't going out there to do this Brawl for All. You think if Undertaker did it, like, the moment he just started taping up his gloves, people were like, nope, I'm out, I'm done, not going to do this, I'm not competing against this man.
Well, I was listening to, I can't remember who was talking about it recently, but someone was saying that when JBL fought Bart, like, the whole word backstage was like, make sure you don't, like, fall too bad, John. Like, that's the hilarious part of it to me, was the whole thing was to get Bradshaw knocked out. But by the time he got knocked out, it wasn't even like a big deal, because it was like, of course he's getting knocked out. It's Bart Gunn, dude. The guy's he's got a hammer on the end of his hand. Like, that was almost the most hilarious part about it to me, that he went from being the dark horse, oh my God, he's got no chance against Dr. F, to just being the absolute ultimate destroyer of all fighting. So, yes, Undertaker, I mean, with that jab and the way he backed guys into the corner, I don't see. Maybe if you got one of those takedowns, though, that may have done something, sometimes didn't. Maybe if you got one of them, it'd be different.
Well, yeah, the takedowns, I don't know how they score it, but, I mean, Undertaker would have just tapped him out. I don't think they had submissions in this thing, but Undertaker... Oh, well, he's the Undertaker. He'll create his own rules. He'll just tap him out. Yeah. This is actually, when you think about it, it's a well-booked tournament. You have your heel. Yeah, I know you're shocked at that, but listen. You have your heel, JBL. The whole thing is centered around him and getting knocked out. What happens? He goes all the way to the finals. He makes it to the finals, and you're like, oh, God, I just wish this guy would lose. I just want him to lose. The problem is they didn't portray any of this on television, but for obvious reasons. But you're thinking, like, man, this guy, like, he got this bullshit decision over draws. Like, God, I just want to see this guy, like, lose. And then he runs up against Bart Gunn, and you're just like, oh, if anybody's going to knock out, like, I got to tune in for this. If anybody's going to knock out JBL, it's going to be Bart Gunn. This was extremely well booked. They just didn't portray any of it.
You are actually right. It was actually awesome. The way that he squeaked through the semifinals too, that was great. I was trying to figure out, you can help me with this maybe. So JBL was a good option as Russo's kind of like foe in this whole story, because there is so many stories about JBL, which we only get into here, that kind of have continued this perception of him. I was wondering if that outweighed the fact that he went on to have this super successful career. Like, would it have been even more funny if Russo had done this to a guy that literally just never again was any kind of relevance, and he's just sitting there chuckling on watching his big projector? I couldn't figure out if it was better or worse that it was JBL.
Oh, it would have been so much better. At least for Russo, it would have been better if, like, he got knocked out and then it was just never hurt. Like, JBL turned out to be the biggest star of this whole thing. Exactly. Like, he went on to have the best career of everybody. So, like, Russo can take pleasure in seeing him get knocked out, but at the end of the day, like, JBL went on to have title reigns and long historical title reigns and stuff, and he was at WrestleMania 36 commentating. Like, the man's still collecting a paycheck from the company.
That's what I was trying to figure out, because to, like, us, we know all the story about JBL, and that gives people a different opinion of him. But on a purely, like, them two level, it was hard for me to not just think about the fact that in, 7 years after this tournament, JBL was, like, the heavyweight champ, and Vince Russo was doing stuff in TNA, and he's watching this fight back, and I was just like, man, this is a weird story. I'd imagine if you told Russo then what would have happened, he would not have believed you, right? Imagine telling him where he would have ended up and where JBL would have ended up in 2020. But here we are, folks. We're discussing it now on the Distraction, and yeah, it was something. I enjoyed the documentary. I'm with you. I didn't cover anything new, but it's just such an absurd story. I could watch it told over and over again.
I want them to do it today. I understand they're never going to do it, but who would win today? Like, let's kind of take out top. Like, Brock probably kills everybody. But, you know, take out, like, the top guys aren't going to risk doing something like this. So if you just get kind of like the mid-card sort of guys, who's winning this thing?
So I assume you're taking Lashley out of it. That's a genuine question, because
we'll take out essentially anybody with like MMA experience, actual. Yeah. So like Riddle's out of it, even the AOP guys out of it. Like, you're taking out anybody who's had at least one professional MMA fight. Batista's out. Remember Batista fought in MMA?
Oh yeah, what an opponent he had too. I'm trying to think of what is the WWE's mid-card, and I'm currently very confused.
Everybody, essentially.
I feel like I never know their new names, but the larger fellow, Hansen of the Viking Raiders.
Yeah.
I feel like he has a mean inside game. I really do.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I could see him. I'm trying to think. The problem is a lot of these guys nowadays are just kind of smaller than the guys back then. Like, you're not looking at Ricochet. Ricochet is great athletically, but I'm not thinking like Ricochet is going to be like some force. But hey, Ricochet could jab and move. I don't know. He might have some fast hands and stuff. Aleister Black, I don't think he's had an MMA fight. Aleister Black would probably be pretty dangerous in this. There's no kicks though.
I was considering him to be above them, but you're right, he is actually a mid-carder. Titus O'Neil, would that be hilarious if Titus O'Neil resurrected his career with a hard right hand? I don't know. Heath Slater, that could be his route to success. Imagine Heath was just a plucky fighter, pulled through it. He was Bart Gunn of 2020.
I think, forget mid-card. Let's just go with like guys who are barely on television, but we know they're there. Like Tyler Breeze. I don't think Tyler Breeze would be very good at this, but he's one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those guys. I just struggle to remember them, which is why I just pulled Titus O'Neil, who did make a WrestleMania appearance.
Yeah.
I should know, right? I don't know, Mojo Rawley. Imagine that. We repackage Mojo as like a shooter. Maybe that could work. It's very tough. I mean, there's many of these people that get no TV time, but it's very hard for me to imagine them in any kind of fighting arena. I suppose it was that way before they did the Brawl for All, though, for a lot of people in their minds, right?
I mean, none of these guys are fighting in an arena right now.
No.
I think that the shooter gimmick is such an easy gimmick too, and this is where they missed the boat on Bart, is because you could have gotten that B-level pay-per-view with Austin. You just like, this guy comes in there, no gloves, he hits Austin with the fist, like his right hand, his left hook, an actual fist, like Austin's done. And then Austin ducks and gets him a stunner, and then it's over. But, you can get something out of the shooter gimmick. I feel bad for poor Bart. He should have had that main event payday against Austin at the very least.
I've figured it out, Jeremy. Jinder Mahal's comeback. And he's going to have a mean jab. He's a big guy. We're not going to do any drug testing. We're going to just roll through the Brawl for All, Jinder Mahal, and that will get him straight back to where he belongs, Jeremy, on top of the card.